Gentlemen, I have returned. And with World War III about to break out, it got me thinking about me and the boys and a good old-fashioned trench warfare. That and walking through the deserts of the Middle East at night singing a cappella style, and suddenly having a drone fly into me at 100 miles an hour carrying a grenade. I don't really have a segue out of that. Anyways, we're talking about the Death Korps of Krieg. They are an Imperial Guard regiment that comes from the Death World of Krieg. Krieg is a shithole, but it wasn't always one. It used to be a hive world, which, I mean, those are still shitholes, but you get the idea. It was a hive world, and then in the 5th century of the 40th millennia, the planetary governor of Krieg decided that he doesn't serve the Imperium anymore, and that the Emperor is not the master of mankind. In the Imperium, these are fighting words. I guess the planetary governor didn't get the memo that the Imperium is not a democracy. So, the planet is now in civil war and open rebellion. The only thing that stopped it from being lost completely was the Krieg Imperial Guard Regiment. High Command told the CEO of the regiment, Colonel Jerton, that he was to put down this rebellion and retake the planet. Now, Krieg is a hive world, and most of the hives have sided with the traitors. Due to the population, layout, and nature of a hive city, an outnumbered Imperial Guard regiment trying to take one over the old-fashioned way, that is not a winning strategy. Normally, this would be the point when you call in Space Marines, or maybe the Navy brings some reinforcements, perhaps even some Titans. Well, Command told the good colonel that he ain't getting a damn thing and he is to retake this world right now. So, you're Colonel jerking it. You have orders to retake this world. You can't do that because all these hive cities are just an insurmountable hurdle for your forces. What do? That's an easy one. You kill all the hive cities. And if that plan fails, well, now the traitors only have an irradiated death world to their name. So on the most popular holiday in the Imperium, the ascension of the Emperor to the throne, Jerton and his Archmago's friend would celebrate their Emperor and Omnissiah by unleashing a cataclysm of nuclear fire that would bring death and destruction to the entire planet. And the parts that weren't hit, they now are suffering from a horrific nuclear winter. The Imperium was pretty pissed off at this. I mean, shit, they could have done that. Colonel was supposed to retake the industrial hive world, not exterminatus it. Now this once major resource hub is worthless to both the traitors and the Emperor. So the Imperium left. The guards survived in underground bunkers. Some of the traitors survived deep in the undercity of the hives, and even with a nuclear winter, the rebellion had not yet been crushed. The surface was irradiated, so all the guardsmen started to wear masks and trench coats, and the enemy was also still dug in enough that a traditional assault was not viable. So the guardsmen grabbed their shovels and would begin digging trenches that slowly but surely advanced towards the enemy positions. After 500 years of digging, the new Death Korps of Krieg now owned the planet. The Imperium returned and told them good work, and that now we can move on to the second order of business. Krieg was 500 years behind on taxes, and with all the industry gone, there was only one thing Krieg had to offer the Imperium, and that was the Death Korps of Krieg themselves. The Imperium set stupidly high ties. They are required to produce millions of new guardsmen every year, which is a lot when you consider the surface of the planet is not conducive to life, and the planet had just fought a 500-year war during a nuclear winter. Yet like clockwork, Krieg always pays its taxes, as you have to consider their frame of mind. The Death Korps of Krieg just fought a 500-year war because they believed they were loyal soldiers of the Emperor who were ordered to take back their planet. And after half a millennia of World War I, they finally did, all while carrying the shame and guilt over the fact that their planet had rebelled against the Emperor of mankind. So when the Imperium returned and they were ordered to pay these massive taxes, the same situation that caused their old planetary governor to rebel, the situation that ended up with them nuking their own planet to a death world and fighting 500 years of trench warfare, the Kriegsmen pay their taxes without question. Otherwise, what the fuck was the point of all this? Needless to say, this upbringing means that the Death Korps of Krieg are a bit crazy. Some might even use the word fanatical. It all starts with their birth. They are thrown into training because all Krieg does is make guardsmen. It's even to the point where they use artificial wombs to create test tube babies to help supplement their population to meet the tithe. The recruits learn about human wave tactics, formation firing, and digging trenches on the irradiated death world they call home. Once their training is complete, they are shipped off to one of the front lines that probably is going to remind them of their home. As if the planet's local nature and weather can't kill you, then the Kriegsmen have no interest in being there. When they arrive at the front line, the Death Korps have a different approach compared to other guard regiments. The Death Korps view soldiers the same way you view ammunition and fuel. They are a resource to be expended. There's even one time where an Ultramarine meets the Death Corps, and learns that earlier they had done a bayonet charge against orcs instead of shelling them with artillery, as they had more men than they did shells. The Kriegsmen will advance forward no matter the cost. If that means a heavy barrage of artillery and then tanks slowly advancing, or sending waves of men over the top in suicide charges until the enemy runs out of ammunition, it does not matter. No price is too high for a gain on the battlefield. There are a few problems with this approach, but no one ever accused the Imperium of being sensible. For example, say they're advancing on an enemy position, and the enemy exploits this because it knows the Kriegsmen are advancing because that's what they do, and they use that to lure them into a trap. Even when the trap is sprung and it is now a slaughter for the Guardsmen, the Death Corps of Krieg are going to keep advancing forward anyways. While sending 100,000 men right into the mouth of the enemy might make the Emperor proud, at least from Krieg's point of view, that doesn't mean it's actually helping the Emperor's war effort. If the 100,000 men die in a suicidal charge against enemy fortifications, even if they take the position, sure, on paper they won the battle, but losing that many men can set back or even jeopardize an entire planetary campaign. Not to mention that other guard regiments, when they inevitably have to work with them, don't like being viewed and treated as cannon fodder. Now, in 40k, pretty much anyone who isn't a named character is cannon fodder. But that does not mean that the other regiments are fans of this reality like the Death Corps are. Meaning other regiments don't like working with the Death Corps, and they really don't like being placed under their command. Because if you're under their command, that means when it's time for the Kriegsmen to do another human wave assault, you're going with them. Believe it or not, this is where the Commissar comes in. In traditional regiments, a Commissar is there to maintain morale, enforce discipline and loyalty, and to pop a cap in the ass of anyone who refuses an order or tries to desert. A Guardsman from the Death Corps does not have morale or loyalty issues. They will never refuse an order or try to desert, because like we just talked about, the Death Corps have the problem that they will not stop advancing unless you tell them to stop. So what the Commissar does is go to the commanding officer and tries to explain to him why it would be better for the Emperor's war effort if the Death Corps retreats and repositions instead of endlessly charging into an enemy that's about to counterattack and swamp the shit out of them. The Commissars also help when dealing with other regiments, and I just gotta say, if the Commissar is the chill guy in your regiment, everyone near your regiment is in danger. There are different types of units in the Death Corps. The one that amuses me the most are the Death Riders. Somehow, 40,000 years in the future, man still finds his ass on horseback, and the Death Corps use these units exactly what you think they use them for. Back when Krieg was fighting a civil war, tanks were expensive. They're crew and maintenance heavy, they require fuel and reasonable terrain conditions, and require specialized facilities and staff and materials just to make. Now horses though, you make them in a test tube, feed them some corpse starch, and when you're done or can't afford the horse anymore, you just give them the old Yeller treatment. Throw in a bunch of genetic mutations and drugs, and you have what is probably a radioactive super horse. The Krieg Steed, and the Guardsmen of the Death Corps use them for either recon or full frontal charges. After all, the Trench Boys love themselves a good bayonet. Why wouldn't they love using a lance at 50 miles an hour? I'm not sure about the net benefit of a cavalry charge against a Tyranid swarm, but I guess that's what the Commissar is for. Then you have the Death Corps engineers, who lives to dig, and they do it with their trusty shovel. They dig tunnels, plant bombs, throw gas, beat the piss out of people with their shovel. You gotta love them. Then you have the officers, who they do get special training on Krieg, but officers fight in the battle, so they usually die in like 14 minutes. So they just end up grabbing whoever's on the battlefield that looks like they can do the job. Put it this way, their lives are so short, they don't even bother learning names. It's just their rank, what unit they're in, and maybe their number if they're feeling personal. Then you have quartermasters, who are like their medics. I say medic, but like they go out there, they grab your gear because, you know, ammo is valuable. If the soldier is injured and it looks like it might be treatable, they might do it, they might not. If you're too far gone, they might just give you a whack in the head with a shovel a few times because, you know, they're not about to waste a bullet on you. These guys have been a part of multiple battles, such as the Third War for Armageddon, which I talked about for like 12 seconds in my last video that was about Grey Knights. I want to be honest, if a Grey Knight said I gotta kill a Kriegsman, the Kriegsman probably just let him. Me personally, I love the Death Corps, just for their look alone. Trench coats are badass, and the fact that they actually dig trenches too, that's sweet icing on this irradiated cake. But gentlemen, that's all I got for today. Do you like the Death Corps? Do you hate them? Do you think I'm a handsome guy? Let me know by leaving a comment. I read all of them. If you liked this video, I would appreciate a like. If you disliked it, let me know by leaving a dislike. If you want to hear more from me in the future, you can subscribe. Till next time, fellas.